Coffee with Tim Black. All right, people. Hey, we got to get going. How you doing, Wolfpack? My name is Tim Black. Welcome to Coffee with Tim Black, the show where we discuss today's issues over a cup of steaming Java. And we have a lot to discuss today. No time to even drink, but I am pumped up off caffeine right now, and I'm ready to get into it. Gary Johnson. He crapped the bed today on Morning Joe where he didn't know the answer to Aleppo. No concept, no understanding of it, right? So look, remember the picture of the ambulance boy for all my viewers out there? Remember that little boy in the ambulance, blood streaming from his head? That little boy, he came from Aleppo. It's in Syria, and they're dying, and they need your help. And what they don't need you doing is pretending to be a presidential candidate who's aloof. Next story. Yesterday, during the middle of my show, a caller called up and reminded me of the story of Darren Seals. Now, Darren Seals was an activist. He fought for human rights for African Americans and those in impoverished cities who were under the boot of the police state. Now, Darren Seals was a Ferguson protester. That's how he came to be acknowledged. He was a community activist, and he was found shot dead and in a burning car. He was only 29 years old. Now, we're trying to figure out what exactly happened, who took his life, but this is what I do know. Stories like this need to get mainstream coverage because mainstream people need to understand what's going on in our inner cities. There's a video that's put out on Facebook that shows Darren Seals being arrested. Him in a car with his little brother, was 14 years old, by an officer, and the officer says, "Hey, did you just come from a Trump rally? And hey, did you make these posts about Trump? And hey, you need to choose your enemies wisely." Now, I don't know how you would take that, but if that same person that you said choose your enemies wisely was found burnt to death in a car with a gunshot wound in him, maybe people would think the cops had something to do with it. But hey, I wouldn't be one of those people, would I? Of course I would. I'm Tim Black. I just tell the truth. That was a bad look, police officer. I hope that we can get to the bottom of the murder. I understand at the crime scene of Darren, there are a number of shell casings all over. This is all on the internet, guys. Go to Twitter, find it, look it up. They didn't even do an adequate investigation of the young man's murder. Unless you imagine maybe he shot himself and then set the car on fire. Well, this is a homicide. Could be treated as such, but hey, that would be too much like doing your job, wouldn't it? My condolences to the family of Darren Seals. We will get to the bottom of this. Next story. Do you know about the Dakota Access Pipeline? You should. I've done a number of videos on it. But here's the thing, guys. Dr. Jill Stein and the Jamu Baraka and a number of other protesters went down to Dakotas to stand with the over 90 tribes of Native peoples and indigenous peoples and all peoples from all walks of life from across the United States and Canada to fight back against what we see as oppression and also the littering and the desecration of graves. The bulldozing of sacred ground across graves and cemeteries is horrible enough. Imagine now they're calling in the National Guard because they want to stop the protest. And here's the thing, guys, and this is what I need you to know. There are some of you that I respect who are now saying things like, well, Tim Black, they don't own the land. Do you own where your grandparents are buried? Do you own where your great-grandparents are buried? What if you found out someone was going to bulldoze through the area where your grandparents are buried? And let's make this clear, guys. Sioux tribes, the Standing Rock, the Lakotas and the Dakotas, you know what? They really respect their ancestry. They have not only graves, they have sacred places, they have shrines and ritual areas. They have all of this historical data. And when they sent paperwork in saying, hey, halt, that's when the bulldozers came in. So back to Dr. Jill Stein and the Jamu Baraka, you may have seen Dr. Jill Stein spray painting the words, "Stop Colonization," on one of the bulldozers. And now John Mubarak and Dr. Jill Stein have warrants out for their arrest and their actions with standing with the defenders of the water, who I don't want to be calling them protesters because they are defenders of the water and their land, because this pipeline is running just a mile past, and we know what happens with pipelines, they burst. Now, we're fighting back with the tribes in order to force them, the government, to for once in your freaking life respect the treaties that you have with the indigenous people of this land. That's not a hard thing to do. You just do it and you stop looking to make money. And note this, all my Republican friends who like me, who watch me from time to time because you sense the passion, though you disagree with my politics, know this. The majority of this fracked oil, which we need to end anyway, but the majority of this fracked oil is for export. Export. It's just to make a buck. And even if it wasn't, for the last time, you cannot drink oil. I'm Tim Black. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Coffee with Tim Black. If you got a relationship and you'd like to make it better, or maybe you'd like to get out of it because it's horrible, go get my free ebook. It's called The Truth Hurts, But It Beats a Lie. It's available on my website at timblacktv.com/ebook. That's ebook. And also, I need 5 people from YouTube, 5 people from Facebook, and 5 people from Twitter to join my team and become part of the Tim Black Army to get the word out, to spread truth, and to keep it real. Email me directly at timblacktv.com. I will respond to you. Tune in tonight. My guest will be Jane Elliott, author of The Blue-Eyed, Brown-Eyed Test. And like I always say, don't you let nobody take your cornbread. It's like talking to a brick wall with some people. Coffee with Tim Black.